because I happen to think that Team F did a really good job. And the other 4 teams can learn something from Team F. So the people who are here from Team F, I'm going to put you into the other 2 negotiations to try to convince in that negotiation that the other 4 teams ought to think seriously about some of the things that you did, that they didn't do. And in that negotiation, you will find that you're actually making the final designs. In other words, the negotiation is not to make sure your ideas are carried, but it's to think differently. It's to think, what did they do that would improve what we did? And what did we do that would improve what they did? And to come to an agreement on something that's better than both of you did. That's why you negotiate. It's not because it's a zero-sum game and you either take it all of mine or I'm going to fight you. No. The purpose of the negotiation is to treat it as a design method. It's a group of people, each of whom started in a different way, each of whom has to come to terms with, I don't get everything that I thought was right the first time, but I'm willing to listen to somebody else. And if they really did something better, why not? And if we do have a fight, let's only do it this way. I'll give my position, you give your position, and everybody who's in the negotiation has 1 vote. We vote and finished, and it's done. Because we're trying to discuss methods, not actually make a perfect design. And that turns out to be in a, imagine that you were 5 middle-level administrators from 5 ministries in your government. And they had to have a meeting to decide what to do. And they each come with different ideas. And if they're going to fight, it'll never get solved. If they can agree, maybe it can get solved. There's no guarantee in any case. So that's what I want to do. I actually think a small number of changes, very small, would make these actually 5 designs each better. So that's what I want to do now. So what I want, Michele, we have almost everybody here, and we're going to have to figure out with the people who are missing how we manage the negotiation. But we'll do that in about half an hour or so. Now I want to share my screen. My screen, Michele?
Not yet.
Did I do something wrong? That's the other question.
Let me check, maybe.
Oh no, it's me. It's me. I did something wrong.
Okay. It's coming.
Now you should see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Our agenda today. Come on, go back. Our agenda today is we're first going to look at the 2050 final designs, except you're going to make something called Team X 2050 Final. You're going to call it Final. Team X 2050 Final. We're going to look at the designs. Then we're going to look at a set of tools that Rishi has put together that allows us to compare these. For example, there's a tool that says put everybody's design together. This is all the diagrams that were chosen. And what you'll see that stands out, what stands out here, is that there are lots of low density sites, but an awful lot of transportation locations. Then there's a tool that says, show me the diagrams that 5 teams, 4 teams, 3 teams, 2 teams shared. In other words, some of these diagrams are used by many teams. And if they're used by many teams, maybe they're good ideas. maybe they're good ideas. Then there's a tool that allows any two to be seen next to each other. For example, team A and team B. And we can see in this tool that some things are the same and some things are different. And these are the diagrams that are in these. And so we can discuss and negotiate diagram by diagram. For example, this is team A and this is team B. And one of the things that's very interesting, really interesting, is, for example, just for example, look how close the road, this road, the bypass, which by the way is a very good one. It's much better than any of the others. Look how close that is to this line. And so you kind of can ask yourself, maybe the road and the green infrastructure should have a relationship with each other. Maybe the road should be in the green infrastructure so that it's not strip development. And in team B, where's the housing? Where's the industry? Where's the housing? There is none. So they have to negotiate with this pattern or some other pattern. There's no, where are the diagrams? And this is team F. And look at this. Look how team F has built up the urban zone. And if this moved a little bit, or they took some of team F's urban zone, which is a very good one, actually, here and here, they could build up the city right in here and put the agriculture in the back, just like they did. So this is a reasonable scheme. And they don't have green infrastructure. Properly, they don't have it because the non-policy wouldn't probably have it. But these people need a city, and they've got a city. So that's a negotiation that is really pretty useful, potentially. When we negotiate, it's very important that somebody has two computers, because you not only want to see the design, but you want to see exactly which diagrams are in it. And one person is going to, this is the final design tool. This is a tool where each of these is alive. And if you press a button, something goes into the design. If you press a button again, it goes out. So what we're planning on doing is two negotiations, and then we'll discuss how the sustainability development goals get evaluated, and we'll show you how it gets done. Whether we have time to do it, we don't know. Okay, now I'm still sharing my screen, except I want to escape this. I want to escape this, and I want to go into my geodesign hub. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to show you the designs as they stand now.
Carl, we still see your PowerPoint, so probably it's better to unshare and share again.
Okay, just hold on a second. Let's figure out how to do that. PowerPoint, escape, minimize, zoom. Come on, go away. Give me my zoom. Stop share.
Okay.
Okay, now share screen again. Share. Can you see my screen?
Yes, coming. Okay.
Okay. I'm now looking at team A, and I'm going to put in the existing roads and urban and settlements. Okay, look, what team A has done is it's agriculture on the outer edge. It's built up in several places, here, here, and here. Those are all good. They've done a lot of good work on the water, but they have all of these transportation projects that make no sense. Why do you need this and this? Why do you need this? Why do you need this? Why do you need this? That you have something going from nowhere to nowhere. Whereas this road that goes around the water bodies is a good one, except it goes over the water bodies. It needs to go here. It needs to go here. So take this road and bring it in, kind of like that. It's one move, and it makes a big difference. And these green infrastructures are very good. They really are. And what you're leaving yourself up to is you're going to leave yourself up to the loss of this agriculture, which is not controlled element because it's not industrial. You're improving the agriculture. I appreciate that. But you're going to lose it to urbanization, possibly. I'm going to now escape this. And I'm going to go to Team B. Team B has spent its entire time, almost its entire time, on the landscape structure without thinking about the urban structure that's required. And I don't understand that. There's no transport, there's no new housing. And what you're basically telling us, is that the city stands still, and when it doubles in population, everybody has to move into the existing city because this is all going to be kept as agriculture, and that's going to be a big green belt. That just doesn't solve the problem. And what you'd be very wise, Team B would be very wise to pay attention what Team A and F did. This is a very, very good move. Connecting these big areas to the north and this one to the southwest is a very good move, but it ought to be coordinated with transport. It ought to be coordinated with a policy toward development and a policy toward agriculture. And it may be too big, but it's not too big in ecological terms. It's a very, very powerful move. But this makes no sense. This is an existing urban area. It's not going to be a solar farm. It could be a policy that everybody needs to have a solar collector on his roof. That can work, but it's a policy. Team C. Team C actually is for where you're supposed to be. It's really quite effective. It's a very effective policy. This should be a policy. But the idea that these areas grow and that some grow outside is a very good idea. It's not clear what this is, but this is clearly a new settlement area. Now, if this is a settlement area for migrants, then it needs transportation. It needs a transportation link. And there's, you kind of wonder what are these roads? What are these transportation links? It's really simple. You need something that goes like this, and you need something that goes out here to this, and something that connects this, but this connection should be this way, and this one should be this way. So this makes no sense ending nowhere. This could be a big loop. It could be a big loop, but right now you really need to think quickly about a good link here and then a good link there. D. Again, this has to be a policy. Now, Team D is doing something okay. That is building up this area and connecting this, but there's no reason to connect out there unless you're going to develop it later, because this kind of a road could go much tighter, much tighter. It could be this way. And this part is much too big. The housing strategy is not bad at all to be had, because these are areas where there isn't going to be a new road here. It's transport one. So you've done a pretty good job. This is where it would grow normally. I think people can agree on that. And then you have the ability to make suburban development. You can do that. It's not a bad strategy. And finally, let's look at Team F. Team F, look closely at what you've done. Just look closely at what you've done. You've got various things that are out in the middle of nowhere that make no sense. You've got so many different kinds of transportation that don't make any sense. There is a need to do this. And there's a much better solution than the one that goes out in the middle of something where there's a big road, but nobody needs that road. Nobody needs that road. It's in the middle of hills. It just doesn't work. So what you need to do is to say simply, let's link this pipeline. This is a very good idea to make a water protection and a water cleaning and a big water solution. But this is actually a linear element which you've made as a polygon that's too big. You're not going to dig up all this area. But the idea that you're providing clean water for the older part is a very serious idea. And you've got things in a lot of good places. It's good. It's a good piece of work. You haven't invested in things that you don't need, and you've got good locations for the things that you've done. Well done. Well done. And the other teams should take this seriously, this urban development. My thinking is that if the teams go into their rooms and you spend 15 minutes, you can eliminate, you can edit a few things, you can add one or two things, and you could improve your designs a lot, including borrowing something from somebody else that you just saw. And let's do that. Michele, can you organize that? Michele, your microphone.
Yes, Carl.
Let's send everybody back into their rooms for about 15 minutes, and then just save this as your team name 2050 final, and then we'll come back and we'll have each team spend one person. Michele, I think what we'll do is, how do we do this? You'll have to control it on your computer, I think.
Yeah.
No, you need the screen. You need the screen because somebody on the team will be the speaker, and you need to know who that is and turn their microphone on. So it'll be my screen for looking at the designs and your screen for managing who speaks.
Sorry, Carl, I didn't get. I was setting the room that are ready now, but could you repeat, please?
No, let's just send them into the rooms, and I'll talk to you while they're in the room.
Okay, excellent. So right. Opening the room now.
If everybody goes into your room, have a quick conversation, distribute the tasks that need to be done, make a final version, and then what we're going to do is do a presentation and move. Then we're going to show you the tools that support comparison, and we'll actually compare the designs technically, and we'll set up for the negotiations that create the final designs for each scenario. Okay?
Okay, so we have time up to 35 past, right?
At 35 minutes after, 35 after we'll get together, 15 minutes.
Okay.
All right?
So
Thank
can
you.
I just, can I ask something quickly, please?
Sure.
Yesterday we wanted to add another transport design, but it seems we're not able to. Is there a 35 diagram limit?
Then
Or,
if there are limits to the number, here's what you should do. Go to one that one of your teammates made and edit it by erasing and making a new diagram in that location.
okay.
It has to be one that your teammates made.
Yeah, we can change the limits, but I think at the moment, I think we just leave it as it is. I mean, 35 is a lot anyways.
Well, that's the way to do it, Luanita. All right, everybody go into their rooms. We'll bring you out in 15 minutes. And by the way, we're going to end roughly on time today. It's not going to be a long session. So, but there are things we want to cover and make sure you understand that this software supports. Okay. Go to the rooms then.
Several people are not going to the room. Is there any difficulties?
Etta, Simi, Caroline, Mohammed, Grazia, George, Mohammed, Caleb, Joshua, Arthur, Aminat, you should go into the breakout rooms.
Yeah, could you
There's
put,
no prompt.
could you give us that option again?
What, if you press out, if you press down below, if you press down on the bar below the low control bar on Zoom,
I see it.
then you'll see the list of rooms and
Yeah,
you enter the rooms.
now I see it.
Okay. Caroline and Mariam, Simi, George. Okay, Grazia, Mariam, Caroline, Simi, Arthur.
Sir, I can't see it, sir.
You on the control bar, if you put your cursor into Zoom, there's a list of controls along the lowest horizontal line. One of them has 4 little squares and it's called breakout rooms. And you press that four square symbol and it gives you a list of rooms with everybody who's associated with it, and you press the button for your room and you can then enter it. Arthur, do you see that control?
No, I'm not getting it on mine.
Do you
Arthur, are you in team B, right?
Team B, yes.
Okay, I will move you.
You may have to move Caroline also into team B.
Okay.
Okay, please move me to team D. Team D.
Your Caleb,
Team D.
Caleb is D as in dog.
Okay. Done.
Okay.
And Caroline is B
Okay,
as in
they
boy.
are all set.
Okay. So Caleb is the last one then.
Okay. He is set as well.
Caleb, you should be able to do it. You should be in the room. There he goes. Okay. Here's what I was thinking, that we don't know who's going to present each team's design,
Okay.
but you have the ability to turn people's microphones on and off.
Yeah.
But to do that, you need to see your screen.
Okay.
So how do you do that? If I show the design on my screen,
It will work. I mean, basically, the first thing to decide is whose screen will be shared, and I think it will be the Kelly's, right?
okay, if Michele can both control the speaker and the picture, then let's do it on Michele's.
Yeah, exactly. And so Michele will share the screen, and then the participants will sort of speak over his screen share, essentially. And I guess, Michele has to follow, let's say, what they're saying. For example, if they say we are building a road, then he moves his mouse to the road or something like that. I mean, that's all at the most.
That's
And they can switch on their microphone.
okay.
Autonomously.
All right. So when we get together as a group, then we'll simply say I'll make a list of who we'll make a list of who the speakers are.
Yeah, you can ask them.
Okay, that's good.
And now we can move to the room, and I will interrupt sharp at 35, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need 2 minutes. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Okay. By the way, Carl, I think overall the design were very good. And then the result of negotiation can be very good.
I think negotiation would be very good.
Better than usual.
Yes, I agree.
I will go, I think to go to Team B and suggest either to propose a strong symbiosis strategy or to choose another design that fit there and copy all of it or
See,
most
they
of
can do that. They can do that in the negotiation.
it. Okay, so let's wait.
What we have to do is show them that they can change in the two. They can always look in by changing one of the designs to next.
Okay, time is short. Let leave them work. And the negotiation should be quite easy and with good result. There are very good ideas between F, some other, the good infrastructure.
Which of the negotiations do you prefer?
It's up to you. Maybe it would be easier for me A and B.
I'll in that case I'll do C and D. I'll do C and D.
Okay, thank you.
₦81,900. That's a savings of over 80,000 naira.
Mariam is going in and out. She's group D. I think this set of design is good, maybe for documenting for a paper too.
I agree. No, I think that what I'm going to do, I have the rest of this afternoon. I'm totally full. I have a phone call, and then at CASA at the university, there's an opening event. But tomorrow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look very carefully at the 2035 designs, and I'm going to build the IGC triangle so that it looks like it was done smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take a first look at the SDGs. No reason for you to have to do that. I'll fill in the SDGs, and I'll make it like a normal presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be I know that Brian wants to put the video of the first day plus whatever good video we have, but it's not edited. And
I may work a little bit on it to cut.
But if you can cut the places where you and I are having trouble, I'm having trouble with Zoom, just get rid of it. If you can do your work on cutting it, I'll make a slideshow I'll make a complete slideshow of the entire.
And I could insert some part also from the breakout room if I select some good part.
Absolutely.
I think the video from Team A was good to show, because Maimuna is experienced, so she was coordinating well.
Yeah, good.
It will take some time, but I can do it.
And if you focus on Maimuna's team, and in other words, when we have an example, use Maimuna's team. Why not?
Yeah, and and if I can, I could try to also, when I do the cards, try to write something also, so that we can have some descriptive text that we can use for a paper or for this website. Like a little bit of storytelling of the. I could ask Chiara if she's getting experience with story maps. I could ask her whether we could mount everything in a story maps, so that we can have a link.
Sure, why not? Try.
Let's see. I will try to talk to her and see.
There's one other thing. You know, I'm giving this talk next week at this this conference in
Maria.
Yeah. And I looked at the program, and Ana Clara has several papers. There's lots of people I know, and we know, you know, Chiara has a paper in it. There's a lot of papers. And I thought of giving a lecture that says, look, I don't want 60 papers that are doing with part of it.
Wait, Carl,
We're
sorry.
working like this. I want to
Sorry.
work this.
Sorry, Carl, which conference?
The reunite, the
The one
one,
in Naples?
yeah, in Naples.
I don't think there are Anna Clara and Chiara involved.
They have papers in the report.
In the report?
Yeah, Maria sent me some documents, that there's some kind of a report of papers.
Can you share with me? Yeah, because I didn't get that. Just to understand what's going on.
I'll forward it to you. I'll forward it to you. But I'm going to give a talk like this, right? And I may end up talking about this teaching. How do you teach integration?
Yeah, I think it's good.
And using simple data. I don't need the models for strategy. I need them afterwards, but I don't need them now. Let's get these people back in.
Okay.
Give them three or four, tell them in 5 minutes you have to be back. Save your design. We start in 5 minutes with a saved design.
Okay. Maybe the report that you got from Maria include also one of their paper, and she sent to understand
Yes. And
what they did.
she sent a paper that she's part of that redrew my framework diagram. Why redraw it? You just copy it. They wanted to redraw it. And it showed, she sent me 3 things. I'll just forward you the entire email.
Because as far as I understood, there will be your talk, then the presentation of their project, and then a discussion. But I couldn't find the program of the conference. I registered.
She hasn't sent it yet.
Yeah. I will ask her to, in case I cannot understand completely, I will ask her to clarify. Okay, I will close the room in 1 minute.
Yep. Okay.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Ooh.
Okay. I think we're back.
I cannot find, except from team A, I cannot find the final version saved. So please save. TX 2050 final.
Having a little bit of trouble with the buffer tool. I'm not quite sure why.
With the buffer tool?
With the buffer tool, yeah.
What does it say, Luan?
I'll share my screen quickly. If I'm allowed to. Oh, yeah, it works. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So I drew a line of the water infrastructure corridor, and I saved the diagram. I'm saying diagram buffer. 100 meters is fine. Compute. I want to save it as water project, water corridor, 50 meters. Add as a new diagram. Oh,
Water
you see, it only works when you're looking at it, Rishi.
Order 27 then.
Thank you.
Okay. Put it in and then save it as quickly as you can, okay? You're going to be the last, your team is the last one to present anyway, Lonnie, but do it. Okay, Michele, here's where we are.
Hmm?
Just everybody,
Okay.
everybody just listen. Here's where we are. Everybody understands, I hope, that you could do the same amount of work spread over a long time with great care, with great precision, and with great thought. That's not at issue. So this is a caricature forced by time limits. And the time limits are for our own personal benefit and sanity. All right? So we're not arguing about, is this a stupid project anymore? Is this in the bad place? We're not arguing about that. What we're doing now is saying, here's what we have. We're going to enter a negotiation. We know that we're going to give up some. We know we're going to take some. And in the end, we want to have another half an hour or 45 minutes to discuss things that we can learn from each other that would make our design better. It becomes our collective design. Think about it politically. Think about it. I'm serious about this. Think about it politically. Assume that you're in a government meeting and you know that the different representatives don't agree. They don't agree. They have to be prepared to discuss with each other because the prime minister wants an agreement to come out of that meeting. And the politics are roughly balanced. So it's in everybody's interest to pay close attention to see where joining can become made. And what you're really trying to do is to join forces. So in the next round of negotiation, you could be stronger with one good design. That's the psychology. And it's not the student psychology. It's not. Students are in a competitive environment where it's very difficult for them to give up their own ideas. It's really psychologically difficult. And unless you pose the problem to the students or to the government people or to the clients and explain to them why it is that they should negotiate as a design method, they may resist, okay? Nonetheless, it's the most powerful part of this exercise, in my experience. I think Rishi, Michele, and I have done it a lot. And it really turns out to be a very important piece. Okay, so the first thing is, what are you bringing to the table? What is important to you that you basically built your ideas around? We don't want to know the details. Listen to this very carefully. The reason we don't want to know the details is because we're all using the same language. We can see each person's design because it's in, and understand it because it's in the same language that we're using. The benefit of color coding is enormous. It's enormous. Never let your students decide what color their maps are. Never. Tell them what the color of the maps must be. Otherwise, not only will you not understand it, but they won't understand it from each other. There's no way to compare without the same language being used. I don't care if it's Swahili, French, or English. I don't care. As long as I can read the color, I understand what's going on. Okay, now, Michele, we need to know who's going to speak. Who's going to be the speaker, the presenter for Team A? Good.
I will
Anybody?
share my screen.
No, I want to make, okay, who's going to speak from Team A?
I am.
Who's I?
I do. Brenda,
Okay.
sorry.
Good, okay, good.
Yeah.
I can't see the names, so when I ask the question, just yell, it's.
Okay.
Michele, zoom in, and it usually pays to put in the existing roads and urban. That's it, urban roads and settlements. That's it. Okay, Team A, what was the big strategic issues?
Okay. So when we started out, our main strategy was to figure out how people who migrate into the area would have food security. So we had to think around water and infrastructure, housing. So we thought we would provide all this in close proximity to one another. So now the issue of linkage also came in, that the transport routes are going through specific areas, trying to link the farms to the mixed use buildings or other mixed use developments. Then we also had to think around water. So strategies to make sure that their farming is sustainable, and also they have renewable energy. So the issue of employment also came in. That's why we have a few areas where we have industries popping up, again in close proximity. Then moving on to 2050, so the first part was securing jobs and food, the basics for the people. Then when we moved to 2050, we refined that to quality of life and having an environment which is more inclusive. So we had thought of including the permeable walkways, but that didn't fit now once we went back to revise it. So we've removed that, but we have maintained the technology and innovation, including the solar farms, which we had proposed in the earlier part. So we also tried to include a bit of agricultural infrastructure to support that. But I think one thing sorry?
That's enough. That tells us a lot.
Okay.
May I ask you one question, please?
Yeah.
You have a policy for agriculture that surrounds most of the existing urban development. What was that policy? What were you trying to do in that area? What is it? Bioconversion subsidies. All right, so you're trying to maintain close agriculture. Okay. It's interesting because much of what you're doing for agriculture is housing for other teams. So that's an interesting discussion that has to happen. Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay. Michele, try something as an experiment. Put in the air photo.
Okay.
Just as an experiment. I want to see whether the air photo, I simply want to see whether it reads. What's the square, the white square? There it is.
There's a problem of refreshing.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That can tell us a fair amount. That's okay.
I have just a quick question. What about the target? Did you reach all the target for 2050?
We did. We were either within or at par with the targets.
Good.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Team B, who's going to speak for Team B? Etta, Mohammed, Caroline, Arthur, one of you should tell us what's going on.
All right, I'm going to present.
Okay.
All right. I can go ahead.
Sure.
All right. So our major strategy is actually linking the green area, protecting it as a project with the agricultural area in the north.
Yep.
So that's why you're seeing a green belt
Yep.
around the study area. Now, one of the things that we initially looked at was we were trying to actually make agriculture a priority. So, but then again, we decided that, look, you know what, our priority should be water, because if you don't have water, you wouldn't go far in agriculture. Mm-hmm. So we tried to see how we could protect the water bodies as much as we could. And basically that's the strategy we used. And I think it took more of our time, and we didn't do much initially with the development, existing development in the middle.
Joshua,
we just had to do a bit today.
Let me talk a little bit about that. Remember when I said there are about 7 strategies in my introduction yesterday? Yeah. What you've done is a mixture of 2 of them. You've said, I'm going to deal with the most important things, food, water, and green infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to deal with the others. Or I'm going to deal with the most important, food, water, and green infrastructure. And I don't have time, which is what you said. But you could also simply say, look, I don't know enough. Nobody can control this. Let the marketplace control it, but don't build where we want to protect agriculture and green infrastructure. That's your political attitude. And you could actually go into a meeting and say, Team F, build whatever you'd like. Or Team A, build whatever you'd like, but don't touch my green infrastructure. I look forward to that negotiation this afternoon in 15 minutes. So you have a very strong attitude on but maybe a small part of the problem, or it could be big, depends on who you're negotiating with. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. By the way, in the negotiation, you may end up editing your green infrastructure. It may end up that you need a new diagram to solve the negotiation, but it's an edit, it's not a direction. Think about the possibility, consider it. Okay, so we see where you are. You've got a very powerful agriculture and green infrastructure and some good water policy, yeah. And you're way, way, way underneath the targets for housing, which is important. The people are going to be sleeping under your trees at this point. All right?
Sorry, I have a very quick question, possibly for a quick answer. What is this project, Identify All Estuaries? What is the need for this? I don't know this kind of project.
We know where the estuaries are.
What is it for? Okay, if there is no quick answer, we can proceed.
It would disappear. It would disappear or be explained. So we know how to disappear something. It's not a problem. We'll see what happens in the negotiation.
Okay.
Team C.
I suspect that the final is this one, 2050. That's correct.
Are you talking of Team B?
This is Team C.
Team C.
It has to be that one. Is that the final design?
Who is presenting from team C?
Usman Grazia Mohammed. Usman Grazia Mohammed. I don't see Team C. Anybody here from Team C?
Sorry, but I'm participating in a very passive way. So
Okay. All right. I understand. I understand that it's not comfortable. Are Usman and Mohammed here? Okay, I have a solution to this problem, which we'll do. Let's go to Team D. Okay, and put on the urban team. That's it. Thank you, Michele. Who's going to present from Team D?
I am George.
George? Fine, George.
Yeah. So here basically we are looking at three things: developing a city that is fair, that is green, and that is dense, and accessible. So what we have done is we have created a transport network that ensures that we have access for everybody through that ring road that goes around from one end of the town to the other.
Yep, that's a good one.
Then accessible for tourists, we have created that you're seeing the straight line, that is a cable line that links to the metro line at the tip and then goes down to the conservers, the marine park right at the end. Then we're also taking advantage of derelict lands and creating a wind farm right on the extreme right of my computer, so that we can be able to take advantage of wind energy to provide energy for the city.
Yep.
Then we borrowed from, I think it was team A or B, this green park that we think is important.
Yep.
Then we've created nucleated settlements for spillover population that might need to live in the suburbs, even though we're talking about densifying the city. And then we also borrowed this policy of water conservation that we have used there. And urban agriculture enclaves that we have, and then small little industrial settlements. I think that energy thing there, sorry, we are going to change it into policy.
Yeah,
yeah,
I heard
because
that.
it's not a project here.
Right.
So I think that basically focuses on what we're trying to do, creating a dense settlement that is fair and accessible.
Yep, fine. Team F. Who's going to speak for Team F? Joshua? Idris?
Lunita will speak for Team F.
Okay.
So, as a non...
Hold on a second. Okay.
Right. So we were the non-adopter scenario, and our assumptions were that it's business as usual in a typical African city, and planning continues as normal with limited out-of-the-box ideas. And we typically focus on immediate problems and solutions. Our team goal was really to focus on the expansion of urban housing and services to meet the demand of a growing city and an influx of migrants. And so you can see we've focused quite a bit on low density housing to meet this goal, and some institutions that specifically focus on health and education. Yeah. So, like for instance, that Neuhof Hospital.
So you put major institution things in among the new development zones. You can see that. Yep.
Yes. In terms of transport, we've got a ring road that aims to connect the city with the industry that is going to be expanding towards the west. which is mostly industry, including the 2050 vision includes a desalination facility to augment water. That's the blue one, just
we see it.
we've got some agriculture, mainly focusing on intensification, diversification, and pest control, as well as processing. 2 new water well fields that will be linked up with pipelines to supply water to all our new residents. And then, yeah, cultural heritage and green infrastructure were not our key priorities, but we did include a little urban tree park and a coastal protection zone since we are part of the Trillion Tree Initiative.
Okay, good. Okay. Now, Michele.
Yep. Let's go back to.
I want to now share. I need to refresh, and I want to share my screen.
Okay. Okay, it's coming. Okay.
I hope I have the right one there. It's this one, 2050, right, Michele? I think so.
Yeah, it should be that one.
Okay, let me scroll down and show you some very important tools. This is the tool called combined analysis. And what it does is it lets you look at all of the ideas from the many ideas that were chosen. For example, these are all of the green projects, all of them. These are all of the water projects, all of them. These are all of the low density housing, and these are all of the mixed housing. These are all of the transportation. And that's crazy. You don't need half of them. So this is a very powerful tool, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to say, look, of all of these ideas, some of them seem to be very good ones and more useful than others. And you can actually crowdsource. Brian Orland, when he was teaching 2 years ago at Sheffield, had 150 students, each with a computer, each making a design. And then he crowdsourced it. And it was a very, very interesting experience. The next tool is called diagram frequency. In this tool, what Rishi has done is he's taken every diagram that has been chosen. Notice, each one is in a column, each one has a number, and each one has a color code. So for example, mix 1 and transportation 1 have been chosen by 3 people, three people. So what this does is it says which diagrams were chosen by 4 teams. No 5 teams chose the same project. But these projects were chosen by 4 of the 5 teams. These projects were chosen by 3 of the teams. It's therefore highly likely that this is going to be the ring road. Highly likely that this is going to be the ring road in the final design. Highly likely that this is going to be a project that survives. Highly likely, highly likely. And these are the ones that 2 teams picked. highly likely that the development here will be urban and the development here will be suburban. Highly likely that this will happen. Highly likely that the agriculture will be up in here. And in a sense, you can almost forecast, based on frequency, the likelihood of something being in the final design. This is really important. It tells people where we agree. Below there are the first, this is the basic two-team negotiation. Let's take a look at Team A. Team B. Interesting. Now, this tool also allows you to go one by one into the systems. And in the negotiation, you have two teams. And let's say that Maimuna is the coordinator of one, and I think Caroline and Mohammed ended up being the coordinators of the other. So let's say somebody represents Team A. It could be Maimuna, it could be somebody else. It doesn't matter who it is, somebody. And somebody represents Team B. You must have this screen on your computer. And then you have to say, which is the number one system? And Maimuna might say, I think that housing is the most important. And Caroline might say, I think green infrastructure is the most important. And so in this case, you're equals, you flip a coin and you say, okay, Maimuna, we're going to deal with housing first. So let's look first at mixed housing. Here's the mixed housing. Well, we both have this one and this one, but Maimuna has these two, but you both have this one. Maimuna has this one, and Caroline has this one. Why don't we agree to have all of them? Why don't we agree to have all of them? Right below, you can see that Maimuna has number 1, 2, 3, and 19, and Caroline has, Team B has number 3. So somebody else, in this case, Michele will have this on his computer. And what this shows is both of the designs. And he can say, all right, let's have them all. 1, 2, 3, 19, 20, and 23. First of all, let's erase these. Let's just erase these. This is Michele's computer, and the rest of the team can follow on this computer, on this screen. And we're looking at low density housing. Why didn't that disappear?
Something is missing. What's that?
I didn't hear, I'm sorry, I just didn't hear you, Rishi.
Something is going on your computer like the last time, I think. But it should disappear when they select it and just see the low density house.
Yeah, what'll happen, if I refresh now, it'll disappear altogether. What will happen is, if just watch what happens to the design when I put in lots of, I'm going to put in 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You see what happens when I press these numbers, they disappear. You see what? This is alive. This screen is alive, and I'm actually designing in this screen, looking at this screen. So that when the negotiators say, let's remove number 1, I can remove number 1. I can put it back. I can say, remove number 5 right next to the water. Remove number 5, put it back. And so Michele will be asking you, what do you want to do? Do you want all of them? Do you want removing some of them? What do you want to do? And he's going to actually physically make the design that results out of the negotiation. Now, the negotiators need 2 computers or 2 windows. One, to have everybody's design, and 2, to know which diagrams they're discussing, and they discuss them in the order of importance. So if Caroline wants to do industry first, then if team B wants to do something first, they do it, then team A chooses what to do next, then team B chooses what to do next, then team A chooses next. So you alternate deciding on the systems. And it actually should be able to be done in 45 minutes. In 45 minutes, you ought to be able to negotiate a better design by eliminating or adding things into the final design, which is what Michele is going to make for you. And I'm going to make for teams D, and probably D, C, and F.
Okay, so Carl, I will make you team coordinator for team C so that you can save.
Make me actually, okay, I'm going to be coordinator for C.
Okay.
So I'm going to save, no, I'd rather have team D save it. Let team D save it.
Okay.
George, you're here still, George, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we're going to save the final negotiation in your team's work. So that's important to know. All right. So here's what's going to happen. Just listen carefully to what's going to happen. Michele is going to organize a negotiation between teams A and B. I'm going to organize a negotiation between teams C, D, and F at the same time. However, I want teams A and B to be aware of what team F has done. And so I'm going to ask Idris and Joshua to join the negotiation of A and B representing team F.
Okay, sir.
And I'm going to ask Loanita to join me and team C and D and represent team F in its work with us, with these 2 teams, okay? And Michele?
Yeah.
Do you want to go in a room and leave me and the teams C, D, and F in the main room, or do you want me to go into a room?
It's up to you. You can stay, and team A and B and myself will move to room A, B.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, just to double check. You will be saving or George?
George will be saving.
Okay, excellent.
And now I need my.
No, George can share the screen and save.
Exactly. George can share the screen.
And you just watch Carl, and you can sort of guide him while you watch the screen.
Oh, wait. I'm going to be Rishi, I'm going to be the person who actually creates the design on the live final.
I would not recommend that, Carl, because you saw that issue that we have with the turning on. I think you should watch George and let him save and guide him and the others through that.
That's fine. All right. So we'll set George up to use the final negotiation tool. That's fine.
For me,
So I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, now, Michele, take your people into what room are you going to be in, A or B?
Negotiation AB. I recreate 2 rooms now. We have negotiation AB and negotiation CD and F.
Okay, and the F is Loanita, and you're taking Joshua and Idris into your room.
Okay.
Okay, then why don't the people with Michele go, and the people who are staying with me stay?
Okay.
Now, George.
Yep.
You're going to be the person on your computer which listens really, really carefully. I'll be an intermediary in this. And you have to go to the very bottom of the Geodesign Hub, where on the right-hand side, you see the map of the design, the designs. You'll see them in a moment. And you will then on the left-hand side, see the active grid of the diagrams that are in it. The first thing you need to do is go below the original designs where you see all 5 of the designs together.
Yeah, you need to share your screen, George.
Share your screen. Share your screen with actually, Rishi, you stay with me because I'm going to need the controls on Zoom. George, share your screen, and I'll talk you through it.
Okay.
Okay, first scroll up. Scroll up. No, go up higher.
Scroll down.
All five designs. Wait. Up. No, down.
Where we have all these, yeah.
Oh, exactly, where all 5 designs are. What we want to do is we want to see really only 3 of them. We want to see C, D, and F. So refresh. You're going to have to refresh your computer. Yes. And then you're going to scroll back down to that location. That's it. You're there. Choose C, D, and F 2050 final.
A few seconds.
Oh, the upper one, I think.
This one?
I think so.
I don't think so, Carl. That's the one. Yeah.
Okay, that was a mistake. Oh, I see what they did. I know what they did. So it's that one too. Yeah, go ahead. That's much better. The TD is on the bottom, way in the bottom. That's it, final. And choose Team F. Final, okay. Now scroll down. Let's stop for a second. Let's just look at them. Okay, scroll down. And press the button 3 below the map. Just press the button 3. That's it. The button, the square. Put your cursor in the square next to the number.
There's a checkbox, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I was
Press
in
that.
the checkbox. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Go to the 2 and press it. So these 2 of the teams agree on these diagrams. That's very good because you've got good housing solutions, very good solutions there. Okay, now scroll down. Scroll down. Now stop. Go a little above because you have to pick the teams. A little higher. I wish this was all in one screen. No, stop. No. Compare 2 syntheses below it. Choose a change team. Choose a change team C. And choose their design. No, right below. Choose their design, but this time I want you to do something very, very important. I want you to choose their final 2035 design. Their final 2035 design. Make sure you're seeing it all. Is that the final one? Make sure.
I think the version 2.
Okay. Just press that again. Press it again.
Yeah, of course, they don't have any other.
And then choose Team D and choose their Team D, choose their last 2035 design. No, 2035.
Oh,
Not
sorry.
that one. 2035. Fine. Choose that one. And let's look at them both. Okay, here's what we see. Here's what we see in 2035. We see a lot of projects and a pretty good scale of projects in Team C, but not enough housing in Team D. The housing in Team D, one of the big ones is the same. That's good. And it looks like Team C thinks that a lot of development is going to go on the west. Look at the amount of density housing. Actually, Team C's design has a pretty good housing, but it's not growing the city. It's not growing the city, but it's not preventing the city from growing. Let's substitute Team F for Team D. So go to Team D, put in Team F. Look at their latest 2035 design. 2035, that's it. Put that in. Scroll the map. Just pull the map down a little bit physically. That's it. And sync the maps. No, pull the left one down. Pull the left one down a little bit. And then press the button off the upper left. Sync the maps. Good, very good. All right. So here's where we are. It looks like Team F has done something that's really very different than Team C. Team F is arguing that the housing will be contiguous to the city because it's not controlled very well. Luanita, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Am I right in assuming that you're basically saying that there's not that much control over the lower density housing?
Yeah, that's correct. We're assuming quite a bit of sprawl, I would say.
And you agree with Team C that there's going to be a major development on the west side near the industrial areas.
That's correct.
And you're both agreeing on different kinds of water policies. You're dealing with water supply, and Team C is dealing with protection against flooding. Both of which are very useful, policies and projects. And Team C has a very, what's the green infrastructure project that you have as a policy, Team C? Yeah, what are those? What are those? George, scroll your computer up a little bit. Just scroll it up. What's the big polygon? What are the big green infrastructure polygons? Or are they institutional? In the far southwest. Hover over it. Just hover over it. Put your cursor on it. It's a stadium?
It's a stadium.
You know how big that is?
It's a stadium.
That needs to go.
That needs to go, definitely. That stadium, by the way, that stadium is 15 square kilometers.
That's
The size of a small town.
That's absurd. That's really absurd. And so is the one up here north of it. What's the one north of it? The other, go further, up higher. The next one, that one. What's a Durba Square?
Yeah, all three of them need to go, basically.
I think they all do need to go. And what is the project? What is the project in the far east? The energy. That's an energy project. I understand that. Okay. So now, let's go down further. Go down to George. Go down further. Stop. Okay. Now, what this is doing is it's showing team F and team C. And let's look at where they agree. Go up along the top. No, leave. That's it. Scroll a tiny bit higher, George. Just a tiny bit higher. No, down. That's it. That's it. Good. Stop. Along the top, you'll see the word agreement and disagreement. Press the button called agreement. Okay, you both already agree about these things. Okay, press again. Stop. Remove that button. Press again. Press once more. Yeah, press again.
Press both again. Both. The first one.
Both.
Okay. So now, it does seem to me that you want to remove 14 and 15. So press in the grid 14 and 15.
Right here, remove
Exactly,
14.
exactly, press it.
And cultural 9 as well, that big stadium thing.
Yeah.
Go up, stay here. See, cultural 9, CULH9. Yeah, and then 8 as well. That's
Good.
right.
Good. Okay, now let's look at what we have left. This is 2035. Scroll
The big
down.
water policy project, Carl, in the middle of the city center.
Yeah, that's
You can reduce.
I think that, what is that project? Upgrade water infrastructure, revise. So that's the wrong project. This should be a policy.
Water 15, yeah.
No, water 15 should be removed.
You got it.
That's it, press.
There's one more there. Try it now. Go back to that big one. That's water 6.
Water 7 is the actual policy.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
You got it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. You can see that it's the policy because on the grid it's hatched. See that? See the hatching? So that's good. And Launita, is this the real water pipeline that you wanted, or is there another one? This doesn't seem like.
We refined it in the 2050 design.
Yeah.
So this is quite indicative, but
Okay.
it's not the final one.
Okay, take it out. Take this one out now because it's overstated. Remove this one. Remove water. What number is it?
19.
Remove 19. And don't add it yet. Add it into the 2050 design, okay? No, that's not necessarily the case. Lonita, would you have done it, a major water project like that in the first 15 years? You might have.
Yes, so the original idea was to develop the two well water fields
right
and
away.
then link them up with the pipeline right away.
I think
The
that's-
design was just ugly.
Then give us the new diagram that you made for 2050.
Okay, how would I go about that?
Tell us the number. Go to your
Just the
computer.
number, yeah. Your
Oh, the
computer.
number, yeah. It would be the latest one, I think. It's number 27.
Put in 27. There it is. Now scroll down so we can see it, George. Is that the entire one? Is that the entire one, or does it go to the desalination plant?
The desalination plant section is a 2050 design.
Okay. Okay. Then what's the diagram that's in the southwest that's a water project? It's next to a green infrastructure. That's it, George. That's it. So
Yeah, I think that slipped in, hey? That shouldn't be in the 2035 design.
that's what I thought. Okay, so remove that one. Remove 20.
Yeah, that's gone.
Now, are there any housing projects that team C or D thinks should be removed from this? Because if you look at it, if you look at this diagram, this is this is the sum of your diagrams. And it's too much, actually. It's more than is required for 2035. It's getting much closer to what's required by 2050. So it's too much. And Team C and D, which are innovating, might want some of it, but not all of it. Do you have any suggestions for things to remove from this collection?
Low density housing, I would say. There's so much of it.
I agree with it. I think there's a lot of density housing, and I'll tell you what doesn't work. If you look at the ones that are in the city itself, you see that you've got 3 big polygons of high density in the city, inside the ring of the city. That's it. That's 1, 2, 3. There are 3 projects in there, plus an energy project, which shouldn't be there. Those 4 projects, basically, what they're basically saying is that you're going to tear down existing buildings and build high density buildings there. And those are residential areas that's already high density. If you look at the satellite picture, you'll see that. I think that's a mistake. And if I was in your position, I would consider removing those and remove one of the 2 on the left-hand side. And then you'll be in, well, it's maybe that one, maybe not that one. One of them should be removed. And that's the triangle is probably the good one. Because the other one is, no. That one we'll talk about. The triangle is a good one because it's not next to the industry, which is heavy industry. So you can leave it if you want to, but I would remove the ones from inside the city. Yeah, those. 5 is an existing neighborhood. It's already a high density neighborhood. I would remove mix 5, which, and what are the other 2? 5 is one of them. And 22.
Yeah, George, you can zoom into that map as well. Huh? You don't have to.
Zoom. That's it. Area redevelopment is
Mix
okay.
4, mix 5. Yeah.
4, 5. No,
21.
That one actually you can say. These 3 in a row, you should be
4, 5, 22 can go.
4, 5, 22. And remove the energy project because it should be a policy. No, that one. No. What is that?
Public health, institutional 7.
It's much too big, but leave it alone. Just leave it there as an institution because it is where they need a hospital, actually.
I think low density housing needs to be removed as well, a little bit calm.
I agree.
It's too much low density.
Zoom out. Zoom out.
LDH 9.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Just a minute. Show us, zoom out once more, please. Zoom out once more so we can see the whole. Now let's let teams C and D. Anybody from team C and D?
I think this LDH7 is actually creating an urban sprawl because you've already captured them here.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. I think that one, if you removed it, you'll be in scale with the problem for 2035. Why don't you remove it for now? It can come back later. That's it. And what about the one in the far northwest, that one? What about that one? What is that supposed to be? No, no, that's okay. That it's a whole new subdivision, but it doesn't have any roads, and it's not. Yes, it does. It has local roads. You might argue that that's not a bad solution. That probably will happen. Okay. George, can you hear me?
Yep.
Please save this design in your team's work. Save it.
If you scroll down, yeah, there's see save negotiated design. It might take
the design.
Just click it once and just wait for a few seconds. Yeah, it might take some time, George, depending on a few things. Just give it a few seconds.
George, when you name it, please call it NEG.
N?
NEG. No elephant good.
Yeah, negotiated.
2035, NEG 2035 final.
Yeah, F, yeah, exactly.
Good. Now let's go back. Now let's go back to where we were before, where we have the two teams. The two teams picked the maps. Go ahead. And now put in Team C 2050, the final 2050 final. That's it. Good. And now leave Team F, but put in their final design. Put in.
Oh.
No, let's actually look. Let's look at Team D. Let's look at Team D. We should respect that and first see what they did, if they did things differently. Now let's look at final 35. You have to scroll down. Scroll down. There it is, version 3. No, 2050 version 3. Down below, lower, no, lower.
2035.
No, 2050. We want 2050 version 3.
Oh.
That's it, good.
Not the final.
No, 2050.
Yeah, 2050, that was the final, 2050 final.
That's what I want to see. I want to see if they did something differently. So now scroll down so we can see their design. Okay, well, that's very interesting. Now what happened? Now what happened is that Team D, all of a sudden, started building housing, which looks very similar, except in the north, to the housing that Team F put in its first stage. That's really quite interesting. And we already eliminated the ones inside the core. So what Team C did is they have much more urban housing, and they made things bigger in their suburb. They made their suburb in the upper left much larger. And they made their high density on the west side much bigger. That's interesting. That's interesting. And they built and Team D built a good ring road, a very good ring road. But Team C did not. They had no transportation, and neither of these teams had a major conservation strategy, nor did they expand their agriculture very much. Well, they did. They did. Team C did. Okay. Okay. This time, let's look at Team F instead of Team D for a moment. Let's look at Team F instead of Team D. Not the final one. No, not the final one. Oh yeah, my mistake. I'm sorry, George. You picked the right one. You picked the right one. And now let's look at those two designs. That's strange. Okay, that's Team F. I see what's going on. I see what's going on. They've built up there. They've built up that. Would you substitute now Team D for Team C? Substitute Team D for Team C. Good. Now let's look at those designs.
We picked Team D again. Team D for Team D.
Are these, no.
Comparing
So
D and
this is
F.
team D versus F. This, you've done exactly what I wanted to do. Because I want to now go down to the final thing, George, where you're working, the live thing. I want to focus on one issue in this design. Keep going, scroll down more. Take a look at something, and that is the two ring road proposals. George, you can see them on the design.
Yeah.
One of them is closer. The one you have now goes further out. It goes further out. It's not a bad idea. The one that's closer in, go look at the closer in. That one avoids the water and wetlands. It's more efficient as an existing conditions ring road. And the question is, would you build two ring roads? I doubt it. Would you build one of them? Maybe. Would you build two of them? An inner ring road, inner ring road, and an outer ring road? I don't know. Who's on team D? Who's listening to us who's on team D?
I think Caleb should be there.
Who should be here?
Caleb is in team D.
Caleb, are you here? Loanita, what do you think?
I think Team F would be comfortable relinquishing the outer ring road for the smaller concentrated one.
I think you would too. I think you would too. I think they've got a better location. Is Team C comfortable with that ring road? Okay, nobody's here from them. Team D, Mariam, Caleb, are you?
We are comfortable, sir.
Are you, George, are you comfortable with the inner ring road instead of the outer ring road?
Yes, we are, sir. I'm from Team C.
The road will just expand the city for no good reason. Development tends to follow roads.
Okay, in that case, keep the inner ring road and remove the outer ring road. Yeah, remove 21.
It's 21.
Yeah, transport 21. It's not just transport 21. Go back on that. Go. Also 30. Remove 30. Go back. Okay. And now, and what you've got there then, you've got, what is this linear one that's going northwest to southeast? It's a straight, almost a straight line. No, that's a cable car. That one, you can either have it or not. What's that one? That makes no sense. That one, what is that?
Yes, it's a highway development, I think.
But it goes from nowhere to nowhere.
It was linking with the road that we removed.
Ah, okay, then remove it. Remove it.
Yes, that was
34. And here there's another one. There's another one that makes no. What is the one that the big heavy duty, the heavy line that comes from the boundary on the eastern edge, and then it curls upwards? That one. What is that? What is that diagram?
I think it's a light rail transport.
Going from where to where? Because the city is not, it doesn't go from the city to the city. It goes from a suburb that is just built to what?
We can scrap that one. We actually decided in our final design to remove the rail, so this one slipped through.
I think
we can remove it.
I agree. I agree with Ronita. Good. And so the rest is a cable car. And that came out of one of the teams. And what's that? What is that one?
It's a light rail, I think.
And where does it go?
It links with the cable car.
That makes no sense. It makes no sense. If you're going to have a cable car, it's got to go from the center of the city to something. For example, the employment center. That's not a bad idea. Venezuela has that in its slums. And it's not a bad idea because it goes over the water, but it's going from a place there's nobody to a place that right now there's nobody. I don't think it's an important thing. I think it's what's called a red herring. I recommend that you remove it. Because right now, if somebody sees it, they're saying, well, you know, how are we going to build a cable car? We can't even clean the water yet.
I can't seem to get the number.
You can get the number by the southernmost point. Oh, that's it. But you have to be able to see it. You could probably recognize the
I think
diagram.
it's number 14.
14. That's it. Very good. Okay, now let's just look
That means
at it.
the light rail is also hanging still.
Yes.
And that was...
you can get the number from the water. Go up to the other end of it, where the water is.
Yeah, I think it's 27. That's interesting. I think they must have put
11,
one line on top of
11.
another. Yeah, it
No,
appeared
it's 11. It's transport 11.
11. Yeah.
It's 11. And there's one more. No, that's okay.
25.
That's just nowhere to nowhere. No, don't do that. 25. That one leave. That one leave. That's a real project. That transport you leave. Zoom out for a minute so we can see what's going on. Zoom out. Zoom out a little bit more. Zoom out once more. What? Okay. Now, is there anything? You've got the water projects you had your first day. You got your second stage. You've grown the housing. You've grown the housing. What else would you like to have in this design? I mean, you've done it pretty well. You've got enough housing. It's a good balance. You've got industry. You've got a simple transportation group that also goes to the north. You've got a water supply. You've got improved agriculture. You've got a couple of big energy projects. You've got a water supply. What else do you want to do in this design? Any thoughts, any ideas from C, D, and F? I'll tell you what you're not doing that between 35 and 2050, you really ought to consider. And that is you're very weak in the broad environmental climate protection policies, and you're weak in industrialized agriculture, which I'm convinced is going to be normal. And you would benefit from a final negotiation with the other teams if they have policies that might be of benefit to you. Here's where the difficulty comes in. Just listen to my storytelling. If you look at your northernmost single family, lower density housing, I won't call it lower is relative. It'll be very dense on the ground housing, very dense. That's a prime area for both agricultural development and green infrastructure protection. You'll see this when you see the other design from A and B. And it's a question of who gets it first. Think about it as a competition. You already built inside the ring road pretty much full in the first stage. And now you're expanding to the north and to the west, which is right. I think that's exactly what will happen. And it should happen. But you're now treading into the prime agricultural area. And so you kind of wonder whether the one that you've got to the north in a final design should move to the east, into the foothills, and to move to the south. In other words, to building more along the coast rather than in the agricultural valley. It's a very interesting dilemma for the geography of these sites. If you look at the African cities that we looked at in my slide the first day, they did not build inside in the inland very far without building along the coast, because the roads were along the coast. That's true here too. And so the choice is, in 15 years, the choice will be north versus east and south. And you've decided north, which is okay. It really is okay. So the question will become in 2050, what do we keep and where do we build our better agriculture? And the answer is it's got to be further out. Zoom out for a moment, George. Zoom out. Zoom out. That's it. And now put up the satellite picture. Now put up the satellite picture. And what you'll see how the valley goes to the north? All you're going to do now is push the agriculture further north, which is perfectly, it works. It will work. So basically you have a pretty good design here. The problem is that the links between the eastern forest and the western forest are more difficult as you go further north because the distance between them increases. But actually, I think you've got a very good setup here. Now, George, what I'd like you to do is, as Rishi told you before, save this design in your group's work, unless we will have any other changes. Are there any other changes that anybody can think of? Okay, save this design as NEG negotiated, NEG 2050 final. This is NEG 2050 final. Okay. Well done, teams C, D, who were here, and F. And let's go back. Let's go. Stop sharing your screen, George, and let's go back to where we can talk among ourselves for a moment. For those of you who are following this process, I've taken a much stronger role than would be normal in order to basically finish. But you could see what I was doing. I was choreographing, especially the discussions about the housing and the. I was choreographing a discussion. I gave you advice. Sometimes I shouldn't do that. I've done it too long, too much. 60 years giving advice, it's a habit. But the discussion that I said, Lanita, what do you think about these two choices? George, what do you think? Your team think? And you decided. And that last tool is an extremely powerful design tool. You are making the final design. And the question that has to be asked is this pair of designs better than any of the previous ones? That needs an answer. Do you think it is? Usman, what do you think?
Should be because it has so many inputs.
Rishi, could you open up the microphones? Could you
I cannot. Can I? Yeah, I can, I think.
I say it should be because of the inputs. So many inputs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lanita, do you think the final designs are better?
Yes, definitely. Mainly because it's also easier to see the flaws in your own design when you consider those of another team. Yeah.
Arthur, what did you think? Arthur,
Let me unmute. Yeah, that's fine. Now, I think one of the interesting things is just an opportunity to reflect on ideas that had been made quickly when you're beginning to see other ideas that people have made. So it gives you an opportunity to, rather than have to rethink afresh, you're actually getting an idea that somebody else has developed fairly quickly. Yeah.
And the thing that I'm going to say it again, but while we go through it, this combination, in a sense, what you're doing is you're letting everybody who's been in this was able to express their own ideas. Nobody can say they didn't make their own design. And then by this process of collectively negotiating, and you could do this in a hierarchy, you could do any two, then any two, then any two, then any two, and come up to one design. If we had 8 teams, we would have 4, then 2, then 1. And each time it would emerge differently. It would just come out a little bit different. And if we had 2 hours instead of half an hour, I would have said to one of you, make this one half as big. Like, I think your water project, for example, is much too big in this final design. Make it half this big. So somebody goes in the diagram, clicks edit, goes buck, 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 buck. You take one, you leave one, it's done. In 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, you've made a better design. And you realize that if the negotiation was done slowly over one day, it'd be much, or if you imported from a GIS road design, somebody's got road designs, and you say, I want this one, the official road for the ring road. Bring it in, change it, edit it. Those things in that last tool, everybody watched, everybody could talk, and it's very powerful. It's pencil and paper digitally, basically. It's overlaying pieces of paper and plastic, and it really works. The thing that's important is that you're making strategic decisions on simple data and simple models. You don't need a complicated model. You may later, you really may later, but now you can basically build a strategy. And you're not finished because you don't have some of the things that you may actually want when you see the other design. So what we're going to do now is wait for the other team. I'm going to email Rishi.
I messaged Michele.
Okay. Okay.
I guess what I want to say here is more around strategy. It's about agreement, Carl. I mean, everybody understands that the road needs more work and terrain analysis and all of that, but at least everybody here agrees that the road should happen. And I think you sort of using these kind of tools, you, let's say, move it to the next phase or the next level of, let's think about some other person doing the road analysis. But to get to somebody to agree to the road is a huge step, because what you don't want is to do the analysis and then try to sell the road to somebody. And then and I think that there's a phasing and a timing sort of issue.
I also think that this, Rishi, just as it's a comment to you, but to some of the others. I know Arthur has been in a workshop with me before. He's the only one, I think, in this group, where we worked on the very common situation where we had 6 different client groups and we negotiated among 6 different client groups. This is a different structure. The thing that's interesting about this one of the things that's interesting is the 2 time stages, where it matters who gets the land first. Are you finished, Michele?
Yeah.
So are we. Let's compare the 2 final designs. Michele, can you share your computer? Or actually, let me share mine.
Okay.
Let me share mine. Share screen. What's on my screen? Pictures are on my screen. What do I want to do? I want to go to Geodesign Hub. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to compare George collected hours, which is team D. And I'm going to take I'm going to show something to you that you haven't seen. Team, where is Michele, where's the negotiated design stored?
It's team A, and it's called team ABF.
Got it.
It's called ABF.
That's fine. That's fine. And what I want to show you first is that let me speak over other people's mics. What we did first was we first negotiated 2035. So what the team did was I had a 3-team negotiation in which I kept substituting. I first started having team C and D looking at their work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I substituted team F for team D.
Mm-hmm.
And then I substituted team F for team C.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 3 groups. And this was heavily influenced, which it should have been, because we were late and non. And this is 2035
Mm-hmm.
from the non-developer team. All right. And they put in a lot of housing right around the city. And some high density housing here. I think this is still too big. And what you have here in your final is some here and some here, but it's this area that turns out to be highly at stake, because these people are saying, you're going to have people living here, they may grow normally. And what you're doing is you're not growing them here in 50, but they've already filled this area in 2035. And now I'm going to switch to 2050. And this is their design for 2050. And they're basically saying that it's too late. They're still not building in the forest. They're not doing anything active in the forest like you are. But it's too late. It's too late for them to build this link that you've got here. And that they're being forced by their own development area to move their agriculture out here, which is actually the best soil. So this is a set of very good policies. These are very good policies. And so might a road now that links this agriculture and some of these settlements. So this one, all of a sudden might become very attractive. This agriculture is too late. This is all developed. But this road, this one, with going into the city and ringing an outer, in other words, this link might now become very attractive to this team. And they're building up more here eventually. but it's too late. It's too late for them to go here. So either if you win, they can't have their housing, but they can move it. So if this was a negotiation toward a final design, let's imagine it's a negotiation toward a final design. Let's say, Launita, why don't you consider this with George and Mariam and Caleb? How much of this would you be interested in adding that road to your structure? And even now, maybe something that comes here that's around there, that's not necessary. You don't need it, but you may well want that. And should you build any of these links? This one in particular might be a useful one if you could. And for the teams A and B, who negotiated for that one?
Actually, Carl, we wanted to change the roads here a little bit. This road, this loop, upper northern loop,
yep.
in order to comply more with the settlements and to reduce, because it is a little bit too much. We have two parallel lines. We wanted only one that could serve the settlement, but we didn't have time to modify that.
And this is the one that this team wanted. You see that one there?
Yeah.
So this is a debate. Should it be this one or this one?
Yeah.
And frankly, you would benefit from a lot of their housing, and you might benefit from their agriculture here also.
Yeah.
And the question is, can we negotiate a final design?
We can probably do.
These are the two designs.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
I think the big agriculture in the Northwest is good. We should check the target, but we can expand ours is smaller.
Yeah.
We can expand a little bit.
Yep, I agree.
And also the big low density housing in the north is bigger than ours, but it's not necessarily in conflict. We can probably expand that as well. Also checking the target. Yeah.
What about this one?
Smaller one? We can leave the small and take the big.
Take the big one out.
No, take the small one out.
Got it.
Make it a little bit more if we need it.
Okay, that's 12.
No, there is another small below the big one, your big one. So I would keep 12 probably.
What do they think?
If you can zoom in a little bit, maybe we can identify which one it is. There is a little bit of conflict between this small agriculture and the low density housing. And there is one of our small low density below the big one.
I see. So this is, let me remove 14 for a minute.
Yeah. And we can do it because we made the other one larger, much larger.
So is this okay for team A and B? Is this one okay for you? You want the housing?
I think so, yeah.
You want the housing. What about this one? It's nowhere. It's up in the hill.
We can delete it, yeah. We can have one bigger, more compact.
Yeah.
In that case, we can delete road number, should be transport 5.
And what's this?
Okay.
What's the black thing, the transport here?
I think it's yours. I'm not sure it's ours.
It's a bus station. It's huge. It's a 1 square kilometer bus station.
Yeah.
That's not necessary.
Not a good design.
You don't want that there. That's transport. That's transport 23.
23. And and we delete the other road, so it's not necessary for sure.
Exactly, exactly. And what's this big transport here?
No, this is institutional, I believe.
That's institutional. Now, you can't do this. You can't have a green belt and an industrial zone.
In this case, industrial would interrupt the green, so I could delete the industrial.
Which one is it? That's the problem. Just a minute. It's got to be something like 20. No.
Maybe if you zoom much further in, you can select it. Maybe if you delete the big policy on the top, institutional 15. Okay, now we should be able to.
I believe it's industry 13.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. And I'm going to put institutions 15 back.
Okay.
Very interesting. Let's go back in again. What's that road?
Is the one now is the graphic is not very good, but it comes from the center and goes around. It passes through the big agriculture area and connect to the green belt, to the ring road.
It's 32. I'm going to do something. I'm going to erase it and put it back and see if it comes on top.
Okay.
There it is. I
just
redrew it. Okay. And
what we can do now, if you save this one, we could have a look at the target. You think it's interesting?
Yeah,
if you just click on import, Carl, your computer might be a bit too slow, but let's try it. You see there, import negotiated design. You're not a conductor on any team, so you cannot save it.
Rishi, what do I do to?
So you see, Carl, at the bottom there is import negotiated design.
I see it.
Yeah, just press that. Your computer might not be able to handle it. Let's see. Just wait for a few minutes now. I mean, it might take some time.
Okay. I'd like to remove this linear.
Yeah, you see.
What I can do is take a screenshot of the matrix.
Yeah,
we can save memory of the.
There we go. So if you go up, Carl, now, it imported it. Go to my selections. Sorry, just in the on the right hand side, you see there the dots.
Yep.
Yeah, my selections. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you scroll down now, there it is.
Okay.
And we can have a look at the impact. At the target.
Oh, I would say huge institutions.
Some institutional diagrams are bigger than the required size. So for sure, they could be improved in that sense. There is a lot of low density, a lot of mix, more than needed, and a lot of energy.
A lot of industry. All right.
Yeah, but at this point, it would be easy to choose what is charged.
It's exactly. It's good. Now, here's another thing that really should happen. Really should happen. You see this green belt. What this is as a project, it says, I'm going to plant all those trees. What you're really saying is, I'm going to protect some of them and plant some of them. So, for example, this is trees already. So this is a policy, an enforced policy, but this is not trees.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a project from here to here, but this is not a project, and this is not a project. So that's really in a final design, it should be altered. But I think that that we're finished with that. I think that,
Carl, I would like you to save these. I will make you team coordinator so that you can save this final.
Yeah,
design.
just wait here, Carl. Yeah,
okay.
Just wait here. Higher, a little bit higher. A little bit higher, please. Underneath my selections. Yeah, that's enough. Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let Michele make you the conductor. The
Okay.
save design button will appear there.
You are now conductor of team A. So you
Can you scroll down a little bit, Carl? Just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. It won't let you do a long names, Carl. Just say final.
Final, it's fine. Actually, I think this is one of the best design we ever had on this area, study area.
I'm going to make 2050, just a minute. 20.
It won't let you type, Carl. It has a limit to the.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm just going to save it then.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Okay, that is very good. Really seriously good. Now I want to show, I'm going to leave geodesign for a minute. And we're doing really well. And I want to spend just a few minutes on something quite different. So just a minute. Let me go to my email. And I need to go to my the people who are in the doing projects in the International Geodesign Collaboration have an agreement that when they do a design, they assess that design in the UN Sustainability Development Goals. Now, almost all of the member countries of the United Nations adopted these goals. There's a very, very good website that defines them well. It gives examples. It tells you how to assess them. But what we're doing in the collaboration is we've got the 17 goals: no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, down to climate action, life on land, ecology, partnerships. And instead of being precise, we evaluate them by judgment, saying most benefit is purple, benefit, neutral, detriment means our design has made things worse, or most detrimental. And we have early adopter, late adopter, and no adopter. And for each of the systems, we give it a number from +3 in purple to -3 in orange if it's bad. And if you go to the IGC website, to the International Geodesign Collaboration website, which I've referenced many times in our emails, you will find an Excel sheet, where if you put the number here and you can then start copying, you can fill out. So in other words, you could copy this one and move it up. And so what we've done in the projects, all of the projects from last year and this year, is we would tell the members of our team, all right, John, you have to judge the effect of our early adopter, water, agriculture, and green on these. Does our work increase or decrease poverty? Does it provide clean water? And we fill in this matrix, and then we add it up. And for almost all the projects, we found that the early provided more positive goal values than the late, than the non. Doesn't always happen, but we've generally found that to be true, that adopting innovations and planning ahead does pay. Now, you might argue that, well, it may pay, but what about the economics? And then I would say, go look at Geodesign Hub. It does have a cost estimation. It does have a financial analysis, and analyze it financially. If you have the time, those tools are there. So we would normally ask, I'm going to stop sharing. We would normally ask the team to do that, to analyze the impact of your design on your not the final design, not the negotiated design, but the final design that you actually individually made on that. We don't have the time. But those of you who are in the collaboration have had that experience. Those who want to be or will be in the collaboration will have that experience. It's not difficult. It's a judgment, it's a discussion point, and it's a really, really interesting task to throw at your students. Because usually they don't think about other people's work critically. And the more you can get your students to play your role as the critic in that structure, the better it is, because there's no fighting, there's no argument. They just sit and they judge. And then they have to be able to explain themselves, which is really, really important. I would like to take a photograph. Michele, I'd like to get, if everybody could open up their microphone and their camera for one moment so that we can see everybody's picture of the survivors of the workshop.
And wear a tie or something.
No. Nobody cares. But Maimuna, show us your face. If you can. Banera, Brenda, Grazia, Mohammed, open up your computer. Idris, show us if you can.
Can you not see me?
Sure. Does anybody have any general questions that they want to ask? Do we agree? That's an interesting question. Do we agree that the designs got better as the process got further?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I hope it's worth your while, and I hope those of you decide, because the software that we're using, Rishi software, is free to use. You actually have this on your computer. You have everybody's project on your computer. You could erase everybody's work and start again with your students. Give them the same problem. Why not? But tell Rishi, work it out with Rishi, because after how long do you usually keep the project alive, Rishi?
1 year generally, but it depends. But 1 year is normally the one.
And that if you have your own project, Rishi is prepared to advise you. This is a very well documented video software system. So the tutorials are all on video. You could throw those at your students and they could be self-taught.
And we go slower as well, a little bit slower.
And it's slower. And you've got all of the teaching materials. We're gonna share the videos. We made a video of this process. We'll share those just like we shared the PowerPoint. And those of you who are not part of the IGC, join it. We want more people in the collaboration. It's a very substantial amount of technical support and documentation. Some of you I know looked at the videos that I recommended to you all, and some of you I also know didn't. Take the time to look at the videos and you'll see all kinds of projects. These techniques have been used with 13-year-olds. Barty did projects with high school students. And Ana Clara in the favelas in the self-made communities, the favelas in Brazil. She's worked with people who are illiterate with these techniques. They're very powerful. We have two departments, one in Slovenia and one in Utah, which has now, Arthur, this is for your discussion and your colleagues. We've had one set of departments in Slovenia, which is doing at the same year with their students, a national study, a regional study, and two local studies. So that the studies can interact across scale. They zoom into each other. In your case, you could do the province in which you are, and Utah is doing the Salt Lake City metropolitan area with a suburban area and an urban area in it, and an open space for the open space plan for the region in a growth strategy. And these projects can nest. So in a sense, students can talk across studios if they're dealing with the same language. And nobody's going to tell them how to do their detailed individual projects. This is not what this is for. But it's for setting up what the project should be. And you could take this design that we've just done in 10 hours, and you could say, okay, up there, you've got a high density housing next to an agriculture area, next to a green belt, next to a highway. Come back in a week and show us what that's like. Zoom in on it. Or you could do what I did 50 years ago. I divided the area into 16 equal sized squares. 16 equal sized squares. And I put the numbers 1 to 16 in a hat. And I said, Maimuna, go into the hat and pick a number. And you pick number 14. And so square 14 is yours. Caleb, you go into the hat. You pick number 12. Aminat, you pick number 13. So Caleb, your design has Maimuna's design on one side, Aminat's on the other. And in a month, come back with 3 designs, but I don't want to see the boundary between them. So you've got to collaborate with the people to the north, south, east, and west so that the design is detailed. But if I see the boundary between the arbitrary grid, it's a failure of collaboration. I taught that way for years. So everybody does a detailed design, but it's not a political client that just does one thing. It's how does it fit? How does it work? Is it different purposely? Okay, get agreement. So there's all kinds of things you could do. It's very powerful. But that last tool, the last tool, which is the live one with people contributing, is the one that you really want to get to. They'll learn a lot. They'll really learn a lot from that technique. All right, I think we're finished. Thank you for joining us. Tell your friends. We're bound to do this probably once a year, more if necessary. Launita, and I want to put an idea in your head. Caleb, who is at Birkbeck College, he's South African. Julian Smith from Cape Town University. There's a whole bunch of South African colleagues who signed up for the workshop who didn't join us in the end, or who dropped out. That's very foolish, in my opinion. You can organize a workshop, a national level workshop, if you want to. We'll talk to you about that if you want to talk about it. But it's a very reasonable.
We have a Cape Town study as well, Carl, with Cobus and others. So
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. So Cobus knows what's going on. He's got a full life. He's a doctoral student, but he's an advanced level doctoral student. So those are things that are negotiable. That we can organize. And I'm very glad to see, Maimuna, that your team is going to do more stuff. What I want you to do, though, is a nested set of studies where you take last year's study and do something bigger so that you can see how those things fit together. Because that's what we want to present in June. There's going to be a whole bunch of memos from the collaboration about how to do one study inside another. But that's really important. It's really important. And George, I'm very glad that you were able to join us in the last minute. I hope that this was useful to you.
Very useful.
Good. So thank you very much for joining us. You'll be getting my second PowerPoint later today. And we did videotape these things, and you'll be getting the link again probably later today. And thank you for joining us. Have a very nice lunch.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Etta, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It was incredibly useful, and
Thank you,
it was nice meeting you all.
Very good.
Thank you.
Rishi,
Nice
thank
meeting
you.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Rishi.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, IGC team, on behalf of Africa. We really learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye. Finally.
See me?
Yeah.
You disappeared and came back.
Joshua.
Hey, Malam
No, I had an emergency, guy. Come on.